to introduce to you Anson Ho. Anson works on bringing mixed reality into the classroom. He is a passionate advocate for technology that can spark students' innate creativity, drive deeper engagement in curriculum, and make lessons accessible to every type of learner. He currently works with a team of dedicated developers aiming to reshape the future of educational technology together with education thought leaders around the world. I'm very, very excited to hear your presentation, Anson, and feel free, if you want to stand behind the podium, that's fine. You can also stand here in the middle of the stage, and it feels a bit more kind of close with the connection. I will do the slides. You tell me when you're ready. I'm going to mute myself, and you say next slide, and I will do that for you. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me here to speak today. Once again, my name is Anson, and I'm a product manager here at Microsoft, focusing on bringing mixed reality into the classroom. And I'll spend a couple moments in my slide to really set the context of why we believe mixed reality makes sense into the classroom, talk about some of the research we have done in this space, and finally go through 3 distinct use cases on how to leverage the mixed reality in the classroom already. And I'd love to hear back some feedback or hear some questions from you guys to understand how you guys have used mixed reality in the classroom currently. Does it work with everyone? Perfect.
Yes, please.
That's
great.
Up. Let's get started. So next slide, please. I can do it as well.
Sorry, there you go.
No worries. So I always like to get started on talking about what's the mission of Microsoft in education. And I think it's really to empower every single student on the planet to achieve more. And that's a mission that we live by here at Microsoft Education. How do we help every single student, regardless of where they're from, their race, their background, to learn 21st century skills to be successful in the job market of the future? So as part of that, we conducted a set of researches called the Class of 2030, really trying to understand what the Class of 2030 would look like. And let me just give you some context on that. So we surveyed a total of 80 global. We reviewed over 100 pieces of existing research. Surveys with over 2,000 educators and students around the world. Understand from these young people who make up the class of 2030, what are the expectations, aspirations, and experiences that they wanted to have in the classroom of 2030. I want to share that findings that we had from that research. First, the overarching theme was a focus on learners and learning. And right. Thanks.
Can I just check? Sorry, Anson. Sorry to interrupt you, my friend. I think
the main thing I want to talk about was really the overarching theme of Classroom 30 for us was really on student centricity, and I think there's one slide back. And as I mentioned, the theme was on student centricity, a focus on learners and learning, and approaches like personal learning with sports skills development was something that's critical inside the 2030 classroom. And students were clear that they wanted to develop skills to navigate their own learning and to be able to make the right choices and explore curiosity and their own potential. And they wanted teachers to know who they were and understand them as individuals rather than just as students. And with the overall context of student centricity, we found 2 core themes in there, both social emotional learning as well as personalized learning. So let's take a look. In social emotional skills, this is what we found in the future of learning, work, and life, and it's profoundly social. The strongest signal from our study was that there was a need to develop and apply social and emotional skills. While simply not new to education, these skills are newly important to people and are taking the center stage along with deeper cognitive skills and content knowledge within the classroom. And these skills are critical through all aspects of life. being smart enough to get through school or an exam is not enough. And the question that we asked us was, in next slide please, how can technology help us? How can technology provide new ways for teachers and learners to engage in personalized learning that builds on student interest, provides insights around strengths and impacts that has on social and emotional skills? And we found there were three main pieces of technology that would impact learning in the 2030 classroom. Next slide, please.
Yep.
And the first one was, no surprise here, was mixed reality. Second one was artificial intelligence, and how can we use the data that we're able to gather from our students to do the right analysis to provide feedback and understanding to our educators and to our institutions on how to target content to our students. And finally, how can we, like you mentioned, how can we use collaborative platforms like AltSpace, Microsoft Teams, Skype, as a way to close the gap between our classrooms, within our classrooms, and other classrooms and institutions around us and around the world. So I just want to, again, just ground us on what we mean by mixed reality here at Microsoft. Go to the next slide, please. Mm-hmm. I'd like to quickly just explain what mixed reality here at Microsoft is. So first and foremost, next slide, please. We see mixed reality as the third computing platform here at Microsoft. First, we have personal computers, where a lot of computing is very powerful, but in mobile, it has very little contextual awareness of who you are and the surroundings around you. The second piece of computing platform that we're very aware of, next slide please, is our smartphones. This is a more relatively cheap platform for everyone to leverage. It has small contextual awareness for the world through our GPS and sensors and cameras that is built into our mobile phones. Next slide if possible.
Yep, coming.
Oh, no worries.
Sorry.
No worries. All right, that's really at the edge. It blends together both the physical and digital worlds that we live in. So let's double click into that in a sec. Are the slides stuck by any chance? Oh, perfect. So what is mixed reality, right? So on one end, we see mixed reality more of a spectrum, the merging between both the physical and digital world. On the left-hand side, we have the physical world, right? It's the world that we currently live in. It's grounded by physics and gravity. So for example, if I take this chair I'm sitting on right now and I throw it across the classroom, it would behave in a specific manner. But on the other end, we have the digital world, the world that we can create and build together through our imagination. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be the space that we're in right now having this conversation. It could be the International Space Station that a developer has created. Or it could be a 360 video that someone has captured from Machu Picchu. That's the digital world that we're talking about. And mixed reality blends these two worlds together into what I call augmented reality and virtual reality. So next slide, please. And I'm sure we're all here very familiar with what augmented reality and virtual reality is, but if you're not, let's still look into that in a second. Augmented reality is the ability to actually take those digital objects and bring it into your physical world. For example, like we all know, Pokemon Go, the HoloLens platform are two great examples of augmented reality. And virtual reality is a platform that we're in right now. It's these goggles that you put on, which can transport you to anywhere possible. But you can either be teleported into a digital world, or it would take some physical aspects in the physical world and bring it into the digital world for sharing. Next slide, please. And we see there are three main device categories out there that enable augmented reality and virtual reality to occur. On the virtual reality side, I'm sure we're all familiar with, these are our VR headsets, Windows Mixed Reality, HTC Vive, and Oculus Rift, etc. On the augmented reality side, we see both the mobile phone and the PC through the camera as a way to create augmented reality experiences for the world. And finally, we see our first-party HoloLens experience as a way to create a hands-free augmented reality experience for the world. And who in here, by a show of hands, has tried the HoloLens or tried either one or two before? Awesome. I see a couple of hands. Perfect. So for people that have not tried the HoloLens, you can imagine this is a completely untethered holographic computer that you put onto your head, almost like a baseball cap. And through 4 cameras that are built into the HoloLens, you can see and understand the world around you. So you can place holograms into your space potentially. And because it's hands-free, you can interact with holograms like you would any other object. And be able to interact with other people in your own space like you would normally inside a classroom environment or inside a meeting room. Any questions about this before we move forward? Awesome. So just a quick recap, we see mixed reality really as the blending between both augmented reality and virtual reality. And it encompasses both the HoloLens, mobile phones, as well as VR as a way to implement mixed reality within a classroom. Next slide, please. So we had to do some research to understand the impacts that mixed reality has in the classroom and on learning outcomes. And this white paper that we put out, ak.ms/immersive_experiences_in_edu, highlights some of that. Highlights some of those research papers that we have pulled together through a lit review on understanding the impacts that mixed reality has in the classroom learning outcomes. Some of the applications and scenarios that we see mixed reality has in the classroom. So I'll be spending the next 15-20 minutes diving deeper into this white paper and just tease apart some of the main points for you guys. Next slide, please. So the main thing I want to summarize is we see mixed reality has 3 positive outcomes on the student. First, we see it improves learning outcomes. We see increase in academic scores, retention, and abstract and spatial reasoning. So usually the next step, let's dive deeper into that, what the learning outcome really means. Next slide, please. Perfect. So the 3 main things we saw that mixed reality has on learning outcomes is 1, we see knowledge retention increase. In this specific study, we see VR compared to traditional education methods, 2-week knowledge retention has improved by up to 30%. And we've seen that even more apparent inside some of our recent case studies, which I'll share with you guys in a sec. Secondly, we've seen grades improve. We've seen scores to be increased up to 22%. And I'll share a specific case study on that with a pilot that we're running at the university right now. And finally, we see reduced cognitive load when learning 3D concepts in 3D. Because inherently, the world currently is 3D. Some of our concepts are 3D, for example, like understanding the anatomy of a heart. But actually map the 3D concept of a heart to a 2D image, it's very difficult for a student to understand that. So we can actually just reduce that cognitive mapping by helping students learn a 3D concept in 3D through either augmented reality or virtual reality. Any questions here on learning outcomes before we move forward? Awesome, I see some thumbs up here. Oh, you have a question. Adam, you have a question?
One moment, please. If you have a question, let me just 3, 2, 1.
I'm Adam from BCU, from Birmingham City University in the UK. One thing that we're building right now, we're building an immersive lab as part of an innovation centre we're building. And a lot of this is, I'm having to define like where immersive is going to fit into like education, but also how do we train our businesses to create new services as well. So I don't know where you maybe see that fitting in?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'll be answering a few questions throughout the presentation, and I'll dive deeper that if I'm not after this conversation as well. But
Sure.
happy to follow with you after this as well. Add you as
Okay, that's a good idea. So how about we do this? If you have a question, make a note. And at the end, after the talk, we'll open it up to everybody. Then you raise your hands, you click it, and we'll come back to all that. How about that, Anson?
That works with me.
Yeah, that works for you. Does that work for everybody else? If we keep make a note so you don't forget it, because I don't want to lose your questions. There's definitely want to hear what you've got to say, but we'll let the presentation, the flow, go on. All right. So then I'm going to just briefly close the question parts down for now. I'm gonna so I'll open it again the allow raise hands towards the end, and then we'll have all the questions together. All right, Ed?
Awesome. Let me continue. So next slide, please, if possible. And we found that there's two other positive effects on students beyond just learning outcomes. One is, again, if it has the ability to actually foster that self-directed learning. We're going to create that learning space for an educator and for students to learn at their own pace. And through some of the new data inputs, we can also understand more about the student through additional metrics like gaze, biometrics, and etc. To create really that self-directed learning path. And finally, as we all know, VR, we believe it is really that empathy machine. VR allows you to actually step into the shoes of someone else and understand how they feel and experience a specific topic or experience. And we see those are three main positive impacts mixed reality has on students. The ability to improve learning outcomes, help students drive that self-directed learning, which students have been talking and asking for in the class of 2030. And finally, it's a very powerful tool to create empathy within the class. Perfect. So next slide, please. So we see mixed reality has three main education scenarios that it can enable. And I'll go through them in more depth right now. First is we see it has the ability to actually create an inclusive classroom. It is a medium that allows us to address students potentially with ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia in a different manner within the class. Secondly, we see mixed reality has the ability to actually help students experience the possible, right? Like we know through VR and AR, you can provide tools and experiences to students that you may not be able to get in a class. For example, to have access to a cadaver, human or a frog. Or the ability to actually teleport them to outside of classroom doors, to Machu Picchu, or to talk to someone in China, and etc. And finally, like through this experience right now, we see mixed reality has a great impact on distance learning. Even this is a great example right now we have in Outspace. We're able to have a conversation and reduce the gap between distances through a digital social platform like we are in right now. To recap, three scenarios we see mixed reality have: the ability to create inclusive classrooms, experience the impossible, and transform to distance learning. Let me go into an example of how we've seen mixed reality transform and create an inclusive classroom. Next slide, please. So here at Microsoft, we have a tool called Immersive Reader. Immersive Reader is a tool that is built into all our Office products, and including our Edge browser, which basically takes text in a Word document, in a OneNote, and expands it into a more visually appealing manner for students with dyscalculia, with dyslexia, to read better. The ability to, in this case, you can see here, increase the font size, increase the spacing, change the background color to make it easier for a student to read. Next slide, please. Other features include, you can see on the left-hand panel, the ability to actually highlight verbs adjectives, nouns, and adverbs to, again, put the onus on students to learn and drive their own learning. You don't need to stand beside a student anymore to circle, oh, this is a verb, this is a noun. Through our cognitive services and machine learning, we're able to understand, oh, yes, learning is a noun, tools is a noun, etc. And beyond that, we something called Picture Dictionary. If you click on the word tool, we provide a visual representation of what tool is. So it helps the student learn a new language. And this is helpful for students that are learning a new language, as well as students with any reading challenges. Next slide, please. And finally, we have the options on the right here, as you can see, is our reading options. We have line focus. If people are familiar with, I see your note. If you look into what people are doing currently with what teachers are doing with helping students with dyslexia, we've seen a lot of the reading ruler, where teachers take 2 pieces of paper and slide it and help students focus on line by line. But as you see in here, with one click of a button with technology, we can create that reading ruler automatically for the students. It can be a 1-line focus, 2-line focus, and etc. And finally, one thing I do want to highlight, as you can see here, there's also the translation portion of it. So we can translate the whole document that you have into 50 languages from around the world. Imagine that. You can take a Word document in English and translate it automatically to Chinese or to Philippine, and etc. And one last thing I want to show is, next step please, next slide, is we actually have, one more slide I believe, is the ability to actually have text to audio, where we hit play, we highlight word by word what a student is reading and listening to. So for example, and the text to audio works in 60 languages right now: English, Spanish, French, and etc. And we're taking this a step further. Right now, this all happens on the PC experience. What do you think can happen when you take this reading experience and expand it to an infinite canvas, to potentially VR? So next step, next slide. And that's exactly what we've done. We're piloting the ability to take this experience, reading experience, and bring it into VR. What happens when you can take this text and blow it up as big as possible in VR to help a student with visual impairment read? And we've taken this test into the extreme. I brought this experience into a senior home where I was talking to a senior, and she wasn't able to read for the last 10 years because her eyesight was deteriorated. But with this experience with VR and blowing the text to as large as possible and increasing the spacing with line focus, she's able to read for the first time words in the first 10 years. And that was the one first story and motivation for me to push this forward, to expand this project further, because of the impact that we had on that one specific person to help them read. So this is currently right now in pilot, and if you guys are interested in trying this out, let me know, drop me a line, and I'm happy to help you guys get started on this specific pilot and beta. So this is one example of how we've seen VR be used to help students create a more inclusive classroom. Next slide, please. Next, we want to talk about how to help students experience the impossible. I want to show 3 examples here. One is maquette. Has anyone here used maquette with a show of hands? Yeah, one person. Perfect. So maquette, for those people that don't know, Augmented is a paint equivalent for VR. Where using basic shapes, we allow a student to create anything that they want. Let's see that in action first before I dive into it. Next slide, please. And we play that video. Oh, let me play that video. Oh, are you guys all able to see
There.
the video?
Yeah, we saw the video. Did everybody see the video? You didn't see the video. I'm sorry about that. That might be to do with the slides. I apologize for that. I don't really want to mess with the...
If you play the video, it's a space where using basic shapes, cylinders, cones, video you find online to create a space that you want. And that solves a lot of the challenges that we've heard from educators from around the world around content. With this tool, we've empowered every single educator and student to create the experience that they want for their students. You can use, and we've seen book reports be placed and created inside maquette. We've seen mock-ups of the International Space Station that people have used basic shapes to create, so they can actually walk through the International Space Station. But this tool, you can imagine, is paint on a Windows PC on steroids for 3D. Using the VR tools, you're able to walk around your space to draw and create that space. So I highly suggest you guys check out maquette after this meeting as well. Perfect. So again, it's a maquette.ms. It's a way to get Microsoft Maquette. This is a tool that is available on all platforms, including HTC, Oculus, and Windows Mixed Reality headsets, all up. These videos are not working. I wanted to just go straight into talking about our second scenario that we're seeing. So the second use case that we've seen with mixed reality is within the medical space. Into the medical space, we've brought the HoloLens into institutions like West Coast University, Case Western, to transform how anatomy is being taught within the class using a digital cadaver. And I think if you look into the results, it's very clear on the impact that AR and HoloLens has on education. Let me just read this quote verbatim from Sagar from West Coast University, who's the largest nursing school within here in North America. The results so far speak for themselves. Students at West Coast University Los Angeles has on average a 10% improvement in test scores compared to last year when they were not using augmented reality to learn anatomy. And they also saw an 8% decrease in failure rates as well within their class. And this really speaks to the impact it has on mixed reality has on learning. One, has the ability to actually reduce the cost of bringing cadavers into the classroom. And two, using digital assets and a digital cadaver, students are able to see relationships between the heart and the muscular system a lot easier without using a cadaver. They're able to dissect and see relationships that are currently not possible within using a physical artifact. Any questions with that so far? Perfect. And I think the third scenario I want to talk about with really transforming and helping students experience the impossible is really some of the work that we have done with Victory VR. We partnered with Victory VR to bring 24 hours of NGSS and online K-12 content for free on the Windows Mixed Reality platform for our educators. Now you're able to dissect a frog within virtual reality. Now, if you're in a classroom setting, you no longer need to purchase frog divers, or deal with the dangers of a laboratory, or deal with the smell that you might have within laboratory. So I think these are three great examples of how we've seen mixed reality help students experience the impossible. One is, just to recap, the maquette, a creativity tool that helps students create what they dream of. Two is through HoloLens or through augmented reality, we've seen how it can transform medical and education, specifically learning about anatomy. And finally, we want to make it simple for all educators to bring mixed reality into the classroom by providing free, standardized content into your classroom. And if you're interested in learning more about the content, I'm happy to dive into that afterwards. Yes, hi. Do you have a question? Infinite graph. All right. Let's continue on. And finally, next slide if possible. Oh, I can change it. Perfect. We see the ability to actually transform distance learning through both an augmented reality or virtual reality solution. So inside VR, as we're all in right now, is Outspace. This is a great tool to allow students and educators from around the world to connect together and in any digital space to learn together. You can bring students that are homesick into the classroom. You can bring students from around the districts together in a meaningful manner and really create that community that's currently not possible within current digital media. And we also have an augmented reality solution as well called Spatial, which allows you to use holograms to use your current space as the medium for conversation. And I think that primarily has two different use cases. One for augmented reality, where it's important to really walk around physical objects, where virtual reality is primarily a quick way for us to connect in a low-cost manner. I want to mention the screenshot I have up here is really an example that we had from last year, where we were to bring Bill Nye into Outspace and have him address a bunch of students. And as you guys all know in here, every single student has the ability to actually be in the front of the class if they choose to, and actually have that direct conversation and connection with the educator or other peers, which they may not have within a classroom. So just a quick summary, right? I talked about how mixed reality has the ability to actually impact student learning outcome through our white paper. The ability to improve learning outcomes, drive self-directed learning, and help students create empathy. I've covered 3 scenarios that we've seen mixed reality used for. 1, create an inclusive classroom. 2 is to help students experience the possible either through VR or AR. And 3 is mixed reality has the ability to transform how this learning can happen in the 2030 classroom. I want to leave it out before we address questions on a quote that our CEO had. If you can change the way you see the world, you can change the world you see. And I think that's what mixed reality has the ability to do for us here within our classrooms. Helping students see a specific topic or concept slightly differently. And by helping those students see the concept slightly differently, you're able to help them understand it in more depth. And by helping them understand it in more depth, they can really understand and see the world and perceive the world slightly differently. And I think that as educators, that's what we want to do. And that goes back to what I first started with. We wanted to empower every single student to achieve more. And one way we can do that is help students understand concepts in more depth and into the different perspectives. And with that note, I would leave it and open up to questions for the room. And just a reminder again, my Twitter handle is Anson HSHO on Twitter. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions there. So I'll leave that back up. And I do want to
Anson,
questions right now.
All right, give it up for Anson Ho, everybody. Thank you. That was an amazing talk and a really great insight into the work that Microsoft Education is doing. Thank you so much, Anson, for coming to join us. We're going to take some questions in a minute, but I'm really excited. I didn't realize the extent of the work and the investment you're putting into mixed reality. We're going to take some questions, but I'll add my own to it. I definitely want to talk about the immersive reader. Who liked the immersive reader, everybody? Were you excited about that? I'm a language teacher. I teach language. I definitely want to try that, Anson. I'm going to be contacting you about that for sure. But before I run into a monologue, I could hog you all day, I'm sure. I have lots of questions. We're going to open it up. I'm going to allow your hand raises, please, which means now you have the ability to ask questions by indicating, if you click the raise hand, it's your opportunity to ask anything, any question of Anson. We've got 2 questions coming in already. Let's start with Adam. Okay, just wanted to say I've got a message. Victory VR has a total of 24 hours free VR content. Just go to the Microsoft Store and you can see the content there. 24 hours of free VR content from Victory VR, partnered with Microsoft Education. Wonderful. Let's have a look. We've got Adam. Your microphone should be free in 3, 2, 1. Where's Adam? Let us know where you are, Adam. Can you give us some emojis or wave your hand? Hi there. What's your question for Anson, please?
Hey, Anson. I'm Adam Page from BCU, from Birmingham City University, I always say before. And we're building an immersive studio here. But it's really around like business creations. But we're integrating quite a lot of the tools you're using, like Teams. We got Maquette installed today. Something I'm particularly interested in is one with Maquette. There's a feature which allows you to do scripting, and I don't know what the timeline is on integrating that into the platform. But also, like more generally, like as a university, it's kind of a bit of a different vibe to like teaching in a school. So I'd be curious to see where you see those tools fitting in.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with you. Talking about mixed reality in K-12 versus higher ed is we need to enable, I think, with different scenarios. When you're referring to scripting, are you referring to what specifically are you referring to there? Sorry. I was referring to what were you referring to scripting? Are you referring to like the timeline on when scripting will be ready in Maquette?
Okay, so with Maquette, there's a scripting tool. I don't really know like what the timeline is in terms of that part of it getting integrated, because we want to do some prototyping with it. It'd be cool to do some scripting. We don't really know when that's going to be ready though.
Yeah, one thing we can do is bring you into the pilot program and give you access to the beta, and it'll be great to get your feedback on that scripting portion of it. So we can send me a DM on Twitter. I'll put you in contact with the team and give you more details on the timeline there.
Okay, nice one.
Thank you very much for that question. Okay, who else have we got? We've got a few more here. That was Adam. Thank you for your question, Adam. We have Julius in just a moment. There you go, Julius. Let us know, where are you, please?
Hi, I'm right here. Let's see.
Oh yeah, in the blue.
Oh, with all
Lovely.
the heart emojis, yes. Hi,
Yes.
hi. So I'm a game design student from the Netherlands. And thank you, Anson, for being my first VR talk. Very interesting to hear your thoughts. I was wondering, you talked about the inclusive classroom. I missed the first bit, but I guess I can resonate about it. I'm thinking, so VR equipment right now is pretty expensive. Let's face it, it's not. It's more expensive than books. So I'm wondering, say there is a kid with some kind of disability, so he cannot go to the classroom physically. I am wondering, is it up to the school or up to the kids to get him the expensive VR equipment? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, one thing we're very passionate about inside of Microsoft is ensuring that we have the right tools for our educators and our students to learn and develop 21st century skills. And with that, we would enable that we're able to increase access and create those, allows us for those free tools to be available within the classroom. So a lot of students already, free of cost, is able to leverage Immersive Reader through our free Office offering to students. So that's a great way for them to learn content already. Right now, we're working.
About the physical equipment.
Yeah, I think that as a whole, as an industry, we're trying to work with educators and districts to understand how we can actually lower the cost and bring these tools into the classroom in a meaningful manner, and reduce the barrier of entry for teachers to bring this kind of equipment into the class.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you for your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Julius. Thank you very much for that. We have a question from Richie. Where are you, Richie? Let us know. Where are you? Where's Richie? Oh, right there in the Parker jacket. What's your question, Richie?
A couple of questions. Thank you, Anza, for a great presentation. I'm very interested in learning about the impact on the eyes for young children. We know virtual reality is challenging for younger kids. What about the mixed reality, like the HoloLens? Have you looked at the impact on young children and their eyes in terms of negative impact and timing?
Yeah, but that's research we're currently undergoing. For HoloLens specifically, our current guidance is age 13 and above. It is our guidance to use mixed reality in the classroom currently.
What about 9 to 13?
Yeah, right now we're working with our hardware team to understand the impacts these tools has on a student's eyes and
I see.
And other.
Thank you.
We're still investigating that. Yeah.
Can I just add something to that, please, Anson, and also to Richie? We had a talk yesterday as well, I think it was yesterday, from Alvin Mangrelin of HTC Vive, who's also, alongside Microsoft, is also doing research. And if the research he is talking about is anything to go by, he was reporting actually that for some students, they were reporting improvements in eyesight. And the way he explained it is, if you think that the average student spends so much time looking at a screen, which is like 30 centimeters from your eye, which forces the muscles in your eye to focus very, very closely. And maybe it's 2 or 3 feet away if it's a laptop. But apparently the way your eyes focus in a VR headset is more like 2 or 3 meters away, which is a more restful strain, if you like, on your eyeballs. That's, I think, what I understood. We could ask Tom Furness here. He's an expert on all of this. I'm sure he would have something interesting to say. We'll be hearing from Tom Furness again towards the end of the week, but I think I got that right. So I found that very, very interesting. There is research going on. Look at maybe the white papers and research coming out of Microsoft. Maybe you can find some information that they're doing on Oculus, because the hardware developers, they need to know, because they're liable. If we all fry our eyeballs there, it's we get to sue them. But the research coming out of Alvin Wangrelin's work and HTC Vive was very promising. I encourage you to go and look at that. Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I think, is there anybody else got some questions? I will happily jump in and with some questions. While I'm waiting to see if anybody else wants to ask a question, I'm going to take up a bit of your time, if I may, Anson. So I made a couple of notes during your talk. And one thing I'm very interested in is Microsoft Teams. I heard an announcement, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Teams would be coming to mixed reality. Is that correct?
I am not aware of that. I would love to know more about that. If you have any
I hope I didn't just start a rumor that you have to deal with it for the next half a year. Sorry if I did. Okay. My next question is...
Sorry, one thing to add on to there is, when we refer to Teams for mixed reality, what we may be referring to is our solution called Remote Assist. that's put
Okay.
into the HoloLens. It's a first-party application which allows a person using the HoloLens to on call people on either the PC or the mobile phone to Teams or call into that environment. So instead of
I see.
because you have the HoloLens, because instead of sharing your screen with someone, or
Yeah.
you're actually sharing your world with someone. So the person on the other
Right.
side can
Okay.
draw into your space, can annotate and drop documents into your space, and that leverages the team's infrastructure there. And maybe that's what you're referring to there.
That sounds about what I'm referring to. That sounds amazing. I'm really interested in that. My next passion, I must say, is the HoloLens 2. Now, I haven't had the opportunity to try it, but I work at a college here in North Wales, and I have a budget, and we're going to order one. And yeah, I'm so very excited. Do you have, for people who are able to access HoloLens 2, do you have any kind of a program where we can access content for the HoloLens 2 in education, or that we can kind of join in for testing and developing?
Yeah, so for content-wise, HoloLens 2, right now all the content lives on the Microsoft Store, and that's the easiest ways to get access and download Microsoft
Okay.
HoloLens
Okay.
2 content. And also we have our MRTK or Mixed Reality Toolkit available up on GitHub for any developers to develop content on the HoloLens right now.
Okay.
And there's simulators in there that we have provided to help the process of developing on the HoloLens. And another thing I
Yes.
just mentioned is one thing that we're working on right now is creating curriculum to help, especially educators in higher education institutions, to help teach mixed reality
Wow.
skills to their students.
Is there any chance of becoming a beta tester for that or something like that? Hint, hint,
Yeah,
nudge, nudge.
Yeah, we have a conversation with that afterwards, David.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much. That's fantastic. Okay, let me see. I made a note. You mentioned. Oh yes, did you say that the immersive reader is available for beta testing, and we should contact you if we wanted to be involved in that?
Yeah, so right now, Immersive Reader is out there and available on the web client. I guess if you just look up Immersive Reader in VR, there are help docs already out there to help you guys get started. And let me share that out right now.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, right. I think we'll all get a message from Anson in a minute with that information, and I'm going to get ready to make a note because the immersive reading. Here we go. Now I'm not sure how we would actually copy and paste that. Or you can open the link. There you go. Lovely. Yeah. Can I bookmark that in Altspace? That would be nice.
Yeah. Oh, that is not what I was planning to do. How do I close that?
Read with immersive reader in mixed reality. So that's okay. That's available. That's lovely. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're good for time. We've had some really interesting discussions afterwards as well. Please give a big parting warm round of appreciation. Thank you very much. That's the
thank you very much, everyone.
For Anson Ho from Microsoft Mixed Realities. And I hope to keep collaborating with you, Anson. It was wonderful to have you. Lovely to hear what Microsoft is doing in this space. And